All right, I will take that as the time for us to get started. So, hello and welcome to OA Troop Reps training. I'm going to pull up the presentation. We're going to start this Magica party. So, hello and welcome. My name is Evan Chwalski. I'm currently serving as the Lodge Chief of Irlanon Lodge, and I'm just here to talk about OA Troop Reps today. So, first off, we're going to start off this training by talking about what is an OA unit rep. So, I say unit rep because now the Order of the Arrow includes troops and crews and ships as well. Also, enjoy the memes. There'll be a couple of them throughout the presentation. So those are just the different names in the different units. We're going to primarily be talking about troop representatives, but this also applies to crews and ships as well. So the basics of the OA troop representative is that they're supposed to serve as a communication link between the lodge and or the chapter and the unit. So they will inform the unit of lodge events, and they'll try to coordinate things with the lodge, and it's a nice harmonious relationship. They also encourage elected candidates to complete their induction, and they encourage unit participation in lodge and chapter functions. So they are the ones promoting events at unit meetings, and trying to get as many people out as possible to events. They also, in the unit, they encourage the older scout participation. So if I'm 16, I still show up, even if I don't want to. And they want airmen to assume leadership positions, because if you are elected into the OA, you were for a reason, and you are thought to be a leader in the unit. And an airman's first responsibility is to his unit, so we would try to encourage airmen to serve their units as much as possible. They also have a big role in unit elections. So every year during the election cycle, they ensure that there is an election scheduled for their unit, and that a team will be coming out to conduct that election. Also, on the night of the election, you are welcome to help with the election if you are the unit rep, but it is the job of the lodge team to run that election. So you are more than welcome to and encouraged actually to help, but the lodge team still runs the election itself. That's just to prevent biases and other influences on the election, because we love democracy and fair elections. So in the qualifications to become an OA unit rep, you have to be a youth. You have to be appointed by the senior youth leader, the senior patrol leader, approved by the scoutmaster or other unit leader, and you have to be an airman in good standing. I don't know why you'd be an OA rep and not be an airman. That's literally in the job description and the title. For the adults, there is an OA unit representative advisor. They are an assistant scoutmaster in the unit that also focuses on helping the OA troop representative. And their capacity is much in the same as the youth, except they are more so mentoring the youth in doing their job than actually doing it themselves. So, and now we're going to look at the flip side of that. We've seen what the OA unit rep does in the unit, but now we're going to look at that from the other side of things and take a look at it from the lodge administrative perspective and see how they can help lodges too, and how can lodges utilize their reps that already exist. So having a unit representative program, it's a great resource for lodges to reach out to units and allows them to create a relationship between the units. If you have a relationship with the units, to a relationship to the units, you're more likely to have airmen from that unit come to things, and you get more members, and the Scoutmasters more likely to be open and welcoming to the program. I know some Scoutmasters are not as open to OA as others. Having a program also helps control the flow of communication. So as much as the lodge may try to email blast every member or email blast specific members, this also allows more specific promotion by allowing the unit rep to go out and promote or detail other communication. It also helped the lodge achieve goals of unit contact and promote lodge functions. So the goal of every lodge, the goal of the lodge every year is to contact every unit one way or another and get a response back. That is done for unit election purposes, and it's part of the Lodge Performance Measurement Program, or PMP. Now, establishing contact helps perform unit elections and leads into everything else that the OA does. And also promoting lodge functions is helpful, so that way we have more attendance at lodge functions. Like, I want to go promote the mini golf event for the chapter, I can go do that, and bam, 5 guys from my troop are there having fun mini golfing. And that's just one of many examples. And talking specifically to larger lodges that have a chapter system, having an OA rep unit program is another thing a chapter can do, a position that chapters can have and give leadership opportunities to airmen. It gives another purpose for why should we have chapters. It is to have a more local connection with units and their unit representatives. And then you have someone at the lodge level overseeing that. And both of those people are responsible for providing the information to the units and creating a good relationship with the units. So that way you're getting more youth involved in the OA itself if they're coordinating with other OA unit reps. Now, if your lodge is on the smaller side, you can set up a program that's like a chapter system, where the lodge gets broken up into different sections or areas, and youth oversee those various areas, and in sort of a divide and conquer approach. And those small areas act like a chapter in the way of you're limiting the amount of units a individual has to work with. Now, let's talk into let's talk about the unit of excellence itself. And this comes in the form of physical awards, but also is a way of measuring how your unit is working, how well of a relationship you have, and member involvement, and all of that good stuff. So the OA Unit of Excellence Award is an award that recognizes units who excel at incorporating the OA into their program. So if a unit is bringing OA into their troop really well, they'll have people going, they'll have an election, they'll have candidates that are elected complete the induction, and they'll have members that attend lodge events. And there are requirements. For one, you have to have a unit representative or troop rep, and that troop rep ideally gives a presentation on OA with highlights on unit member accomplishments. So if 5 youth completed their induction that year, there's one of the highlights. You had 5 youth go through their induction, you had 3 people go through their brotherhood, and you had 1 person keep the vigil. Another requirement is that 50% of OA unit members attend 1 lodge event. Usually that's done at the banquet, but ideally we'd bring them to a weekend event so that they can experience the program. They also have to hold a unit election of those elected, 70% have 70% complete the ordeal. The award itself, I would have brought my patch that I got when I earned it, but it's at home. Oops. And the unit leader also gets a certificate and a flag and a ribbon for the unit flag. Now we're starting to get to the end of the program here, but I just wanted to take this time to open the floor up to questions, whether you want to type them out in chat or unmute yourself. So I'll come back to the that window. No? Oh, okay, then we'll finish up. So I'm sure I didn't cover everything. I know I didn't. I tried to keep it brief. And I'll provide some more tips at the end. But there are additional resources. So this whole presentation that I gave pretty fast is based off of a national resource called the Unit Representative Support Pack. It is a bit of a boring PDF, but it's a very thorough and goes into more detail than I did. In addition, for those of you that are in lodge leadership, utilize the lodge partnership program, where your lodge is partnered with another lodge, and you guys help each other bounce ideas off, see what works, what doesn't, what you want to adapt. You'll want to, if you're in leadership, feel free to bounce off the other lodge, see what they do, and you incorporate some ideas into your program if you'd like. Okay. Reaching out, I'm going to be here for a while because I went through that really, really fast. So I guess we're going to open this up to more of a discussion sort of thing now, because we have a lot of time on our hands. I'm always here, but it's not the end yet. Sorry to say, you don't get off that easy. So at this time, I'll stop sharing screen. So I guess let's just have a discussion and/or question time. Trevor, I can call you out because I know you and I can see you in the corner. I guess what has worked for, I don't know if your unit specifically or you in general, what's really worked for you, or if something hasn't worked, what do you want to bring up about it?
Well, my troop before I joined OA was one of those very anti-OA troops. And then I did my ordeal and I came back and there wasn't really anything bad about it. So that kindly changed the whole troop's perspective. So we're not some big OA troop. We have maybe 5 members total in the OA who are in the troop, but it's not something that gets shut down. So especially with the little kids, promoting it a lot to the younger scouts helps, because eventually they'll want to be there. They'll want to get the cool white sash, get an extra scoop of ice cream at Beaumont, wear the cool fancy patches. So I guess just promoting it to the younger kids has really helped me, at least.
Yeah, I see you raising your hand. You can unmute yourself and.
Yeah, my general question on all this is, we have the troop representative and we have the lodge. How do you see the communication between the lodge and the troop representative going? How does the OA troop or crew shift representative know to pass on to their troop about what the activities that the lodge is doing? Is there an advisor for the OA troop representative in the lodge who communicates with the troop OA representatives? Or do you understand what I'm talking about? How does the OA representative know what to communicate to the members in the unit? You know, so what is the best method or a good method to make sure that the OA representatives are updated on information?
Hi,
I'll go ahead.
my internet went out halfway through the question on the computer, so you are seeing my forehead because I'm talking from my phone.
Okay.
So sorry about that. So I guess I'll give two versions of that answer. First off is for in a normal circumstance. There are multiple ways you could go about achieving that. You can have it in person based on attendance at, say, chapter functions, where I know some chapters will have the first part of their meeting be information that they can then pass on about, say, lodge events and national events. And also reinforcing that through the use of, say, email. That's another way of doing that, but that's, I guess, up to the individual lodge and how do they want to do this. Now, in the second half of that answer is in the pandemic age, you really want to be utilizing more so your socials and your email methods of communication, and you hope that they check their emails because you really can't meet in person that easily these days. And on the lodge level, depending on how your lodge has this set up, you can have it be a lodge level program. And ideally, if there's a youth doing this, there's an advisor helping them. So that advisor would help the youth pick out, will help them in their duties, reaching out and making the proper links of communication and all of that. So does that answer the question, or more of an elaboration?
Yeah, that's fine. It's just, it's just the fact that, a lot of troops have OA troop representatives, and like any other function in Boy Scouts, if you don't know what your job is, then you can't do it properly. So it's always good that the OA troop representative knows what they're supposed to be doing and has the resources to do that. Okay.
And that's something that I will admit in my own lodge that can be improved on, is the communications with the OA reps. I know that as chief, I didn't directly oversee it, but having seen things for myself, I know that you'll want to have a better link of communication, so that way you get more people at events and more involvement, more activation, things we want to see. Any others?
I have a question.
Yeah.
Would it work if there were 2 OA reps in a troop?
That depends on the unit. I've never seen it happen. I haven't seen anything against it either. That's something I've never really encountered before. Usually you only have one. That's in most cases, but it really depends on how the unit leader wants to set things up.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, because my scoutmaster, there's 2 people in my troop, me and another person who are in the OA, and she said something about both of us being OA reps. So.
And also another thing to bounce off of that is they don't necessarily have to wear the patch to be able to promote the OA. Anytime you wear that sash, you're promoting the OA. And you're, at the end of the day, you never really stop representing it. You just maybe aren't wearing the position patch for it too. But that is ultimately a decision that is up to your scoutmaster.
Okay, thank you.
there any more questions, I can launch into another story from my experiences as an OA rep.
Obviously, we can't control the troops wanting to do OA reps, but how would you suggest the LEC get a troop to have OA reps and promote that more?
Well, the way that came to my head first right now as you're asking that question was to have that be a part of the unit election process. So during the unit elections process, we try to visit as many units as possible, one way or another, whether it be recently virtual or most of the time in person. And that would be a great time when you have the scoutmaster or other unit leader face to face. You can talk to them about the benefits of an OA rep, and you can see if the unit can support that if you have enough youth leaders for it. Because that's another challenge, is some small units may not have the ability to have one because of their size. So that it may be bundled up with another person's responsibility. But back to the main question, yeah, my first idea would be to have that incorporated into the unit election / unit visit. If they don't already have an existing OA rep program. Now, if they do, then that would be the time when you want to try and reinforce it if they're not really active. And if they are super active, then keep it up, pat on the back. But yeah, that's my initial response. Now, obviously, you could look at a new way of doing it, where you're trying a more aggressive reaching out to them campaign, or any other method seen fit. Maybe having the chapters try to do something with that. But yeah, that would be my first idea, would be to do it with the unit election.
Yeah, I had a question regarding the organizational aspect of it. So when it comes to actually organizing and sorting through all of your information, how do you guys kind of, I guess, how do you reach out to specifically the unit representatives? Because so we also have the unit rep program out here in Indiana that we're trying to run. And it's just really hard to reach out to them and get a hold of them specifically because the terms change every 6 months. And we only have one unit election a year.
And that's one of the biggest challenges with having an OA rep program. And ideally, you'd have a meeting of some sort that is more frequent than a year. So if you're getting your OA reps out to chapter functions or something like that, you'd see them more often. They'd be able to pass on information that way to the program. Or another way you could do it is have to self-report sort of thing, where if you already have an established program, there's likely to be a way to inform of a change in leadership. So you can just change your contact list to say the new person instead of the old person. But if you don't have that sort of list or have that sort of system, then that's going to be much more challenging to try to do. And that's why you'd hope you'd see your reps more often, is to be able to say, hey, who's the new rep or something of that nature. Does that answer it, or is there more detail?
Yeah. No, that answered it. I guess I'm also just gonna add. So would it make sense to use those adult roles as well? I don't remember if you had mentioned it.
Yeah,
but part of okay, yeah. In the unit representative program, right, there's that adult advisor in the units as well, and they're going to remain much more consistent. And so maybe just making sure that you get their information as well, and they can update you on who the new representatives are because they're like their advisors. So
yeah,
right,
that's another way of utilizing your advisors, is to have them be the more consistent link. Yeah, thank you for contributing that.
So something that I've run into, I've been trying to find an OA rep within our troop for more than 15 years now. And after spending years as chapter advisor and years as lodge advisor, I have still never had an OA rep for my troop because everyone who's eligible already has another leadership position. So how do I convince those guys that that's what they want to do versus being patrol leader or scribe or SPL or one of those other things?
Yeah, that's a tough one. Because your most active airmen are going to be doing something else in the troop. And I guess that really depends on the size of the troop. If you have a large enough troop, you can find somebody. But if you're in a smaller troop or a harder to convince troop, trying to think of like a specific way to go about convincing them, because I've never had to run into that. But
Technically, they can hold more than one position. I know when I was a scout, I held 2 or 3 positions just because I wanted to, and they were positions like bugler, scribe, and patrol leader. So they
you
didn't.
could do that.
Yeah.
And that's an option too. Is maybe they aren't wearing the specific OA rep patch, they're wearing the ASPL patch, but they're still serving in a capacity in addition to ASPL. That's just an example. But that's something that I guess is up to the individual. Like convincing individuals in general is harder to do without knowing the individual. So that's just something that you'll have to know what works and what doesn't. But it would have to take some major convincing to maybe sway someone out of being an SPL to be solely an OA rep. Now, they may want to do both, but okay, with SPL, I wouldn't recommend it. But with some of the other positions, you could conceivably do that. Yeah. Any other questions? I don't know if that really nailed an answer there, but that's a hard question to answer. Well, I can give you a quick story, and that's relatively easy because of the size of the troop, and I guess I was already in a lodge leadership position, so that made it much easier. But that's one of the big challenges is I had to basically rely on myself. There wasn't really a program in place. And so that's why I feel it's important for a lodge to have a program, is because you don't want to have to count on people being involved in the lodge to give information to troops. Now, I was the only OA rep to even try to earn the Unit of Excellence Award, but that's personal initiative. That's not, I don't think any other OA reps even thought about it. But yeah, that ties back into the point of having to try to have some sort of communication link. where I don't have to rely on my OA position to know about things for the troop. And you can have a network through various means of social medias and emails in this time. Ideally, you could have in-person meetings and rely on advisors and all the hallmarks of OA, really. There any other questions before I let you go early? Seeing and hearing none. I know the PowerPoint will be distributed. Are we distributing the PowerPoints, Caden? The trainings are being recorded and posted on the website. Okay. So this training will be available for you to rewatch if you want to go through it again. Maybe catch a closer look at the memes that were in there, or to go back and read some of the points. I can also send over that national document that I referenced for this whole training. I can post my email in the chat. I can spell. And I guess if there are no further questions, I can let you guys all go and catch some second breakfast, maybe another cup of coffee, some quick Minecraft, and Training Cell 3 starts at 11. So thank you all for stopping by, and I hope you gained something from this.
Thank you.